It's more action figure review time here on the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles channel, and today we're having a look at the Mandalorian from the Star Wars Black Series. This is the way. Okay, here we are then. Here's Mando. All in the box still right now. A pretty standard Black Series, although I like these smaller, more compact, kind of little neat packages that they're coming in right now. We can see, the figure and the accessories in the front window there. Got the orangey brown colour scheme because they've got this kind of colour coding thing going on to indicate which part of the Star Wars extended universe characters are coming from. Nice image on the side there for the folks who, the MIB folks. Bit of lore on the back there. His body is shielded by Beskar Armor. His face is hidden behind his T-visored mask, and his past is wrapped in mystery. No one is quite sure who this well-equipped stranger is. Well, we are now, because we've, seen Season 2 and had him in the best part of Boba Fett, so there you go. Yeah, not a great deal else to say about that one. Pretty straightforward box kind of thing, so let's get it open. I'm thinking the best entry point on this might be from the side here. Let's try that. All right, then. Let's get my thumb under there. Oh, well. It's all gone to pot already. Turns out maybe that wasn't the best entry point. Never mind. I don't keep the boxes anyway. Slide that out there. That's quite neat and tidy. Ooh. A second layer of plastic. And the paperwork. All right, what we got here then? Let's have a look. So he's got his rifle. Don't need that. Got his pistol. Bit warped, a bit bent that. Got his Mandalorian jetpack. And that sound. Oh, his cloak's tucked through the thing. That's why that's not working. Come on, Mando. And the figure himself. And there we go. One unpacked Mandalorian. And that is a pretty good looking figure. I'm going to go away and have some playtime now. Here we are then. Here is the Mandalorian all unpacked out of the box. It's been a few days since I took the footage of me unpacking him, and I've done the usual routine. I've played around with him, I've posed him up, I've taken some photos, and for the last few days he's been hanging out on my shelf. He's been spending some time with my Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. And let's dive straight into it, and let's begin by talking about the look and feel, the aesthetic of the figure. And to my recollection, just as I cast an eye over it, I've not done a side-by-side comparison with a screenshot or anything, but he looks pretty damn accurate to the way the character looked in the TV show, and what more could you want in some respects? If that's what you're picking up the Mandalorian for because you love the character from the TV show, then this guy looks the business. He's got all the stuff that you associate with the character, the shiny Beskar armor, the Mandalorian helmet. He's got all the trimmings and bits and bobs hanging around that like the gadgets and such like that we've seen him use in the show. So it's a pretty good looking figure. But let's dive in a bit deeper and take a closer look. Bringing him forward then for a bit of a closer inspection, we can see one of the aspects of the figure that I really, really like, and that's the way the metallic armoured sections look metallic. They're the right kind of shiny. They're a metally shiny. That's the technical term. Now, the armour is, of course, a really key characteristic. It's a key attribute for the Mandalorian character. And so getting this right, I think, was very important for the figure, and I think they've nailed it. I mean, if you look at the helmet and the breastplate there and the shoulder pads and his little armoured cannon-y things on his wrists and down here on the thighs, the metallic look is spot on. They've really nailed it. And there's been, armoured figures that I've seen in the past that have a more kind of plasticky shine to them rather than this more metallic looking shine. So I'm really pleased with that, and I think that's a great element to the figure and really gives it a bit of texture that ties in well with the way the character looked in the TV show. Lots of other lovely bits of detail to enjoy about the figure as well. I'm particularly enamoured with the wear and tear here on the thigh plate, and I'm loving all the little bits of Mandalorian weaponry and gadgetry that's all, you know, strapped onto him and on belts and such like. Very neatly painted, really shiny, and stands out against the brown of the belts and straps. And the belt buckle, I'm really impressed with the belt buckle. Just super neat and tidy job on that. And I love the two little studs here on the leather belt to attach the buckle to it. I think that's a really nice, neat and tidy touch. Lots of nice bits of texture in the figure as well, like you can see on his jumpsuit underneath his armor there, the pattern in his uniform. We've got the creases in the sleeves on his jumpsuit, and of course you can see all the textures and creases in his trouser legs. The boots look all right. They're suitably leathery, I suppose. I've seen better jobs, but they look nice, and they've got bits of texture in there as well to give the character some depth. And then you've got things like little bits of splashes of colour, like the little symbols on the back of his gloves there, and the sculpt on things like his little wrist launchers, which are quite nice too. Another couple of nice touches. He's got the Mudhorn symbol here on his shoulder plate that he had added to the armour after he defeated the Mudhorn in the first season. And if I turn him around, I know it's one of these rubbery, plasticky capes, which is a bit unpopular with some corners of the action figure collecting world, but I actually think the texture and the drape and the folds looks really quite good on this one. And one other thing that I really enjoy is the way it's got all this kind of torn wear and tear across the bottom edge of his cape, which really gives it some character and keeps it nice and TV show accurate. It looks like he's really been wearing this cape, which I think is wonderful. So overall, really hitting all the right notes as far as I'm concerned in terms of the look and feel and aesthetic of the figure. But let's talk a little bit about how he moves. And I'm going to start with above the shoulders there. Pros and cons with the head. He's got some really good left and right. I mean, you can get it all the way over the shoulder like that, and like that in both directions. So his left and right view is really decent, but the up and down is negligible. There's barely any up. I mean, that's about as far up as I can get it. And there's barely any down as well. Obviously restricted by the shape of the helmet and the fact that the cape is there attached around the neck. So you're not going to get much looking up, rocketing through the air kind of stuff going on here, nor are you going to be doing one of those funky rocketing backwards John Woo style double pistol shooty kind of shots that people do with their figures. On the main torso, you can see there's a joint here just below the rib cage, which has got a bit of swivel and a bit of crunch movement in it, which is quite handy. It's a little bit restricted by the belt going across the chest, but it certainly has got enough to help you out if you're posing up, trying to get him into a just about to draw down kind of pose. Looking at the articulation in the arms, this is definitely a point around the figure that I found limiting and disappointing. The first thing you notice is that the shoulder pads hugely limit the upward motion. So you can kind of tuck them in alongside, but that's as high as you'll get going upwards. There's very little movement there, and there's no butterfly joint here either, at least not one with any significant movement. So very limited across the shoulders here. Then you've got a bit of swivel around the bottom of the bicep and tricep, but it's a single elbow joint, again really limiting some of the posable options. And then we have the trigger finger hand on his right hand, which has got the kind of, I don't know what you call that, the ball joint here in the wrist to give you some motion there. And then on his other hand, it's got the joints there to move it forward and back. So the combination of the limited shoulder movement and the single elbow means your stuff you're doing with your arms, with your posing, is a little underwhelming. Bit of a different story with the legs, though. We've got a much better situation and far less limiting compared to the arms. We've got good range of motion in the groin and hip there, which is nice, although what you will find is that these little bits of armour that hang down around his waist and the holster, his pistol holster, limit a little bit. There's thigh swivel here, which is quite nice. Although a bit clickety-clacky, a bit tight out the box for me. Nice double knee. Let's do it with that leg, which is awesome. Lots of options there, and some good range of motion in the ankles to help out, which makes him a pretty decent independent stander, which is something that I like to have with my figures. Moving on now to talk about accessories, and the first one I've got here is his pistol. Looks very TV show accurate, nice and shiny, well kept piece of weaponry, which you'd expect nothing less, of course, from a Mandalorian warrior. Nicely painted hilt to have the wooden handle on it there, and it fits nice and neatly into his trigger finger like so, and with that range of motion there in the wrist. Lots of opportunities. There's also a bit of pistol storage available with the holster here on his right-hand side, where it fits into like so. It's a bit of a tight fit, but what it has got is one of these stupid Star Wars Black Series, you know, the snap strap thing over the top, and I really hate these. These are rubbish. They do my head in when I see these on the figures. However, you got somewhere to put his pistol when he's not using it. Here's the hunting rifle that comes with the Mandalorian. This is a nice looking piece of kit as well. Got the wooden butt, got the main body of the gun here, which has got a lovely wash on it to make it look all kind of gun metally. The dark barrel and the scope, and then the weird little forky thing at the other end. And this, like the pistol, fits with ease, like so, into the trigger finger. This is, of course, where some of my gripes earlier about the single elbow come into play, because it just limits the posability with the hunting rifle sometimes. I mean, that looks pretty decent. That's about the best pose I managed to get him into, but it just restricts your options a wee touch. But I suppose that's, you know, that's just the way of things. That is the way. The last accessory is the jetpack, and this has been a bit tricky. I've got a few notes on this one. So the studs on the back of the backpack line up with some stud holes in his back here underneath the cape. So you can pop the backpack on like so. Really give it a bit of a press there. But with the backpack on, your options in terms of the cape are a bit, I mean, do you see what I mean? Just a bit kind of bit limited. It don't sit very neatly over the top. If you angle it around the side here, it just looks weird. If you try around the other side there, that's probably a bit better. But yeah, I don't know. I've not been the biggest fan of the backpack on him. It does weird things with this rubbery cape that I haven't really been able to figure out. So I haven't done a great deal of posing or photographs with him wearing the backpack. There's also these holes here. I think they have a dual purpose, because you can fit, there's a little stud on the rifle. I think you're supposed to be able to fit the rifle into one of those holes like that. But as you can see, the stud on the rifle is far longer and the hole in the back is not deep enough, so it's not a very reliable fit. So yeah, I'm not sure about the stuff going on the back here, and I haven't been using the rocket pack with the figure a great deal at all. When one chooses to walk the way of the YouTube, you must be both viewer and subscriber. This is the way. So as you probably gathered from the closer look review section of this video, I am broadly speaking very happy with my Mandalorian figure. Good TV show accuracy, nice attention to detail, lovely textures, lots of depth to it. Is it flawed? Yes, he is. The single elbow situation, the weird thing with the rocket pack is all a bit frustrating. But overall, as a shelf figure, as a display model, I think he looks really great. And if you're out there wanting to acknowledge essentially the best character to come out of Disney's stewardship of the Star Wars franchise, then this is the one for you. Now, I haven't had any of the other Mandalorian figures in hand to do a comparison, but if you're on a budget, looking for a single figure, perhaps not as interested in having a Grogu to accompany him, and wanting someone to just put in some space western-y style poses, then yeah, this is the one for you. This gets a MoDXtra Games and Collectibles thumbs up as far as I'm concerned. So there you go, there's the Mandalorian. Now, if you've enjoyed my review, I would super love you and appreciate you if you could take the time to subscribe to the channel and give us a like for this video. Otherwise, I've been Chris, this is MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, and I'll see you around these parts with an action figure review, some trading card unboxings, with some comic book stuff, or some board game stuff sometime soon. See you later, folks.